right, good morning, folks. Today is Wednesday, April 6th. Welcome to First Things First, Simply Cyber's daily morning cybersecurity threat briefing. I'm your host, Gerald Auger, and in the next 30 minutes, you are going to be delivered the top cybersecurity news of the day, and I will provide expert analysis on each of these stories on what it means to you as a practitioner, or if you're an individual looking to break into the industry. I guarantee you this will be useful in an interview. Shout out and thanks to this stream sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions, your partner for incident response, ransomware protection, and business recovery. If you are live, love it. See you guys in chat. Good morning, all of you. Thanks for being here. If you're watching on replay, thanks for catching the stream. And if you want to jump right to the news and dispatch with all these morning pleasantries, when the ticker in the corner gets to 0, we will start the shows. So you can just scrub to the right there and dispatch with all this pleasantries. But for the next 1 minute and 51 seconds, I'll be happy and welcoming folks into the stream. What's up, Lupe? Hey, Pamela, good to see you. Cybersecurity Central in the house. Axiom, how are you? Spastic, good morning. Hannah, how are you? Prime Site IT. Kimberly, I hope Miami's doing well. Here in the low country, we had tornado warnings last night. Very unsettling, but no issues here. No issues. Good morning, Carrie. Hey, Honest. Hey, KO Ken. Good to see you. Hot mustard gas coming at you hot. Oh, yeah. Wednesday hump day. Love that Geico commercial. Hey, Mike. What day is it? Hump day. Matthew Bowles. What's up? Christopher Word. Squad member. Good to see you. Arden. Good morning. Oh, my man. My good friend, Matthew Mears is in the house. I'm sure he's looking svelte this morning. Hey, Ms. Julian, good morning. Mohammed, good to see you. BSEC, love it. I got notifications set for DJ BSEC when he goes live on Twitch. Always enjoying him spinning. What's up? Oh, hey, Arden, GRC course is awesome. Thank you so much. I've received so much positive feedback. Got a lot of little troll action on Twitter yesterday that I let bother me, which I wish I hadn't, but it is what it is. Yeah, Brian, Simply Cyber. Posse, Jersey Shore back in. What's up, Emilio? Good to see you. Garrett, Columbia. Oh, yeah, so you're lucky. Yeah, the tornado just kind of tore right up the East Coast here or whatever. IT auditor, check out the GRC course on simplycyber.teachable.com. I saw that stream by. We do a whole module, like 5 lectures around audit and risk analysis. All right, Prince Pa, good to see you. Always representing Ghana Strong. Love it. All right, guys, looks like the timer is at 0, so let's keep our promise to the people watching on replay. If you want to play along, come on over to CISOseries.com, CISOseries.com. David Spark and his gang do a great job of putting together that morning podcast for us to piggyback on top of. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the news.
From the CISO series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. Germany takes down world's largest darknet market. German police have seized the servers of Hydra Market, the most prominent Russian darknet platform known for laundering money and selling drugs, stolen databases, forged documents, and hacking for hire services. The police were also able to seize 543 Bitcoin worth a little over $25 million. Authorities say Hydra Market had roughly 19,000 registered sellers who served at least 17 million customers with a turnover of $1.35 billion in 2020, making it the largest darknet market in the world.
Wow. Okay, so a couple things here to take away. One, way to go, Germany, for taking down, what they are calling the largest darknet market in the world. Darknet markets, guys, I'm sure for those who have heard of it, but just so everybody's on the same page, darknet marketplaces are basically like eBay or Amazon, but instead of buying, an immersion blender or Staples, you're buying drugs, or you're buying weapons, you're buying murder for hire, you're buying people. Really, really sinister stuff going on in these darknet marketplaces. Not to say all darknet and dark web is bad, right? There is a place for it, but these marketplaces are for illicit activities, okay? Also, you could sell currency, you can sell access, all these things. By law enforcement taking it down, it's really good. It continues to show threat actors. Yeah, Silk Road. I see you, Brian. It continues to show threat actors that this type of um, activity will not be tolerated and there will be consequences. Now, I didn't really get out of the story whether or not anyone was arrested. They did confiscate the money, which always hurts the individuals in charge, right? Because they're not doing it because they're into goodwill. They're doing it for the cash money, right? Hold on. Give me Randy Moss here.
Straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, homie. That's why we do Darknet marketplaces. So seizing 543 Bitcoins worth $25 million definitely hurts. I do got to tell you too, if you are a shopper on the Darknet marketplaces, when you go in and you see this instead of your normal welcome page, this has got to make you feel nauseous, right? This is basically saying that, the German FBI essentially have seized this, and, obviously they've got audit records and logs and activity. Who knows how long they were in there with? I think it was Silk Road. Maybe it was Silk Road. It was one of the big ones. The law enforcement, the FBI, actually took it over and ran it for a while, not to make extra money for the FBI, right? Instead of doing a bake sale, they run a Darknet marketplace. They did it so they could basically get enough intel on the actors in the Darknet marketplace so that they could have a wider strike when they broke it down. So very interesting stuff. Obviously, if you're doing illegal stings and you see this, you got to get nauseous.
Animus leaks personal details of Russian soldiers. Personal details of roughly 120,000 Russian soldiers were leaked by the anonymous hacking group who blames Russia for its aggression toward Ukraine. Leaked details include names, dates of birth, home addresses, and passport numbers, all of which were tagged with the phrase, quote, "All soldiers taking part in the Ukraine war should be subjected to a war crime tribunal," end quote. The data release comes after Ukraine's President Zelensky publicly condemned Russian missile strikes on Bucha, which killed hundreds of innocent civilians. While some are applauding the move by Anonymous, others are criticizing the group for punishing innocent soldiers who are simply carrying out their president's orders.
Yeah, this gets really, really sticky really quick. I'm not sure if you guys can hear my dogs because they're losing their mind downstairs. I'm sure someone's walking a dog by my house. Anonymous, the hacktivist, collective that has publicly aligned with Ukraine, is, they're very effective at what they do. They're leaking the personal details of Russian soldiers. They're wrapping it saying that they want, these soldiers to be potentially held in war crime tribunals. There's a lot going on right now in Ukraine, and Zelensky talking to the UN Security Council about some of the things that the Russian military is doing in Ukraine right now that it would definitely constitute war crimes if it is in fact true, right? Allegedly. So this goes way beyond cybersecurity, guys, but there's this question of like, oh, I'm just a soldier following orders. So am I obligated and held accountable for the actions because I was just following orders? You should really get my boss. And the boss is going to say, well, I got orders from my boss, right? So at some point, people have to be held accountable. At the same time, if you say, I'm not going to follow that order because it's a war crime, you may yourself be eliminated, right? So it gets really, really dicey really, really quickly in war. Long story short, this is an interesting topic for, is this appropriate or not, right? Like philosophically speaking, from a technical perspective, I'd be curious where they got all the personal details of the Russian soldiers, right? They must have hacked some database of some sort in order to get all this 120,000 soldiers information. So I don't know. We'll see.
CISA adds Spring for Shell to list of exploited vulnerabilities. On Monday, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency added the Spring for Shell remote code execution flaw to their known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. The critical bug, which was unveiled last week, targets the Spring framework, which provides tools and utilities for Java-based applications. Spring for Shell is not expected to be as impactful as Log for Shell due to being more difficult to exploit. Nonetheless, researchers at Checkpoint indicate that roughly 1 in 6 organizations worldwide who are vulnerable to Spring for Shell have already been targeted by threat actors. Additionally, Microsoft confirmed that it is tracking some Spring for Shell exploit attempts across its cloud services. However, so far, there are no known successful exploitations. The vendor has addressed the issue with its release of Spring Framework versions 5.3.18 and 5.2.2, as well as Spring Boot 2.5.12.
Okay, so a couple things going on here. CISA added Spring for Shell to their list of exploited vulnerabilities. Guys, I've said it on the channel multiple times. Not all vulnerabilities are, stop what you're doing and patch it right now, right? In fact, a lot of vulnerabilities go unpatched. That's why vulnerability management is an entire thing. When CISA adds this to exploited vulnerabilities, that means that it's actively being done out in the wild, which should raise your level of concern with this particular thing. Now, what's interesting is there are no publicly released known incidents of Spring for Shell being exploited. Again, Spring for Shell is a weakness in the Spring framework, which essentially allows you to kind of compartmentalize a model view controller web application backend. That's my understanding of it. So it would be internet facing technology, which increases the concern. But, long story short, if you have Spring framework in your environment, you should definitely patch it. And if you can't patch it, you should evaluate either, pulling it back behind a firewall until you can fix it, or rolling out a different model view controller framework or something just to get it up and going. I know it's not always easy. To give you guys a real example of why it's always easy, you might remember back in the day, Equifax, right? Do you guys remember Equifax, the credit reporting agency in the United States? They suffered a horrendous hack. Most of the people in this call right now got their personal information compromised. Now, it was an Apache Struts framework vulnerability that got exploited, and the patch had been released for like 6 months, and everybody with pitchforks and fires wanted to light up Equifax. And I believe the CIO at Equifax got fired. The CEO retired. Like, it was a hot mess on fire. What ended up really being the story was that they had built so much tech into, or in custom configuration into their Apache Struts implementation, that if you patched it, it would break everything. So they literally were hamstrung from being able to actually fix it. And unfortunately, when that becomes a big effort to fix, what ends up happening is you kick the can down the road. Oh, we'll get that in the next version. Oh, we're going to sunset that application at the end of Q4. So just wait. And then Q4 comes and it doesn't get sunset because budget cuts or whatever. This is a complicated issue that happens all the time in corporate America. I'm sure people in chat right now are dropping, preach. It happens all the time. And it's like legacy system software. The worst is when you have custom built software that solves a quick problem for cheap, and then it becomes part of your critical mission business solution, and then you can't patch anything. So anyways, all of that is a long way to say it's easy to say patch this, but some organizations aren't going to be able to patch it easily. And unfortunately, that sucks. Real quick shout out to Kevin Beaumont at Gossie the Dog. If you don't follow him on Twitter, strong encouragement to follow him on Twitter. He's a British, he's out of London, and he's a security researcher. I think he works for Microsoft now. He's awesome. He's always putting out wicked good information. I believe he's a security researcher / blue teamer, or he identifies as blue. So check that out.
App says ex-employees stole customer stock trading data. On Tuesday, stock trading platform Cash App, which is a subsidiary of Jack Dorsey's Block, formerly Square, disclosed a breach of U.S. brokerage account data. Allegedly, a former employee stole data including account numbers, full names, and portfolio holding information. Although it is not clear how many accounts were impacted, an SEC filing indicates the company is issuing breach warnings to roughly 8.2 million current and former customers. The company said, quote, while this employee had regular access to these reports as part of their past job responsibilities, in this instance, these reports were accessed without permission after their employment ended, end quote. The company indicated that they have remediated the issues and are continuing to strengthen their administrative and technical controls.
Okay, couple things going on right here. First of all, this is financial services, especially fintech, right? Like the big tech version of financial services. This industry vertical, they spend the absolute most on cybersecurity. So when you go to like I don't know, a healthcare organization, maybe they have a couple of people who work in information security, right? And they do a couple different things. Financial services, they'll have like departments of like pen testers, departments of SOC analysts. Like they invest heavily into security. That's the first thing. So, by the way, wicked high stress level, right? Like if you want to get paid really well but also get yelled at, financial services might be the right ticket for you. Now, having said all that, this employee stole stock trading information and portfolio values. What's the deal there? My initial thought was like, okay, so this dude is going to be like, "Oh, all right, like I don't know the first thing about trading, but I see that this individual who's got a huge portfolio makes these trades, so I'll just do the same trades and also make money." But what I did think of afterwards, and this is probably more the case. Think about this. If I steal portfolio values of like the top 10 most lucrative accounts, right? Let's say it's Justin Gold, Kimberly, Matt Mears, and Hot Mustard Gas. I see you guys in chat, right? Let's say they're the top 4 holders of money in this platform, right? You're each like, 9-figure account balances. Guess who I am going to target with malware, phishing, spear phishing. Like again, at this point, I've made the decision to commit a crime, but like I'm going all in on OSINT research, phishing targeting, everything I can on those people because they have the money. They have the most money, right? That's where I'm going. So that's where that information can be leveraged. So be careful when you're using these online platforms, frankly, because humans do human things, and unfortunately, maybe this individual got into it with bookies, right? Made a huge bet on the NCAA tournament. Didn't think Kentucky was going to lose in the first round. Damn, got to get some money. Or maybe they developed an opioid problem, right? Maybe they're getting divorced. I don't know. But people's situations change, and money makes people do weird stuff. So just be, aware of that.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Campaign unsuccessful so far. On Tuesday, a top Ukrainian cybersecurity official said that phishing attempts on Ukrainian targets in late March, which contained documents appearing to contain information about Russian war criminals, were not successful. The file attachments were detected as malicious and forwarded to Ukraine's Computer Emergency Response Team, dubbed CERT-UA, which attributed the campaign to a Russian hacking group dubbed Armageddon. CERT-UA issued a separate notice which linked attacks targeting government agencies within the European Union at roughly the same time to the same hacker group.
Okay.
GitHub.
All right. So this is interesting. No surprise, right? I told you guys the other day, like, whatever is hot, right? Cadbury eggs for Easter. That will be what the kind of basis for the phishing emails will be. Obviously, we just talked about anonymous leaking Russian soldiers' information so they can be held accountable for war crimes during tribunals whenever the conflict gets resolved. It's a hot topic, right? So if you're sending email about war crimes, your targets may be likely to open them. Okay, let's combine all of these. Let's say one of these Cash App people that we just talked about happens to be one of these people that they're attempting to phish. I know it's probably not, but you get my point, right? Like, oh, like, hey, this person has a lot of money and they're Ukrainian. Let's send them this war crime thing, since that's a hot topic. I'm sure this is much more around compromising the individuals to get intel and information on them. But you can see they've done, kind of a splashy, sexy screenshot here of the analysis, right? It's basically just running PowerShell. Looks like it's going to a website to pull down the second stage payload. This is all pretty standard, but it's nice that they have the graphics. There isn't much here. It's two conflicting, nation states doing cyber attacks on each other, right? Here's a phishing email. I'm trying to get in your box to do something. I don't know. Like, you'd have to do an analysis on what this particular piece of code does. This right here is just the downloading of it. This doesn't actually analyze what the payload is doing in these screenshots. So we can't really tell what they're doing. Anyways, long story short, it's a phish.
Now scans for secret leaks in developer workflows. On Monday, GitHub announced that its advanced security suite has been upgraded with a new push protection feature, which will scan for highly identifiable patterns of potential secret leaks. In addition, the new tool will check over 100 different token types, including those issued by Alibaba Cloud, Amazon, AWS, Azure, NPM, Slack, and Stripe. The new feature is an optional check for developers, and if enabled, will block a push if it detects a secret leak pattern.
Nice.
According to the company, there has been a low false positive rate during testing.
This is awesome. This is wicked awesome. Okay, guys. So check this out. What they just said here is people use GitHub for like DevOps, right? Continuous integration, continued development, or deployment. Is that what the D stands for? It's CI/CD. Anyways, long story short, like constantly making updates to your platform, right? And pushing updates. And unfortunately, when they say secrets here, secret leaks, they're not talking about secret information like confidential information. Well, I guess it is confidential, but we're talking like API keys, maybe passwords, right? A lot of times, unfortunately, developers who aren't practicing best SDLC will include keys that they shouldn't, private keys, in public source code, right? So it can be discovered by security researchers. We saw recently like that MailChimp API got hacked the other day. It's quite possible that secret API key had gotten compromised or publicly released. So this is an automated tool that you can opt into, and I don't know why you wouldn't, especially since it has low fail rate or false positive, that will check your code and prevent you from pushing it if there's a secret in it. That's a brilliant idea, and I love it. Thank you, GitHub, aka Microsoft, since they own GitHub.
Microsoft expands its bug bounty program.
Real quick, just if you work in an environment that has GitHub and like you're doing DevOps and pushing to production, and like you're either an internet facing big tech company or you're developing some type of in-house solution that helps manage your business, if you're using GitHub and DevOps, tell your DevOps team, tell your R&D people, tell your software engineers about this option, and strongly encourage that they flip on that switch. Okay.
Microsoft has announced that starting yesterday, Exchange, SharePoint, and Skype for Business on premises are now part of their bug bounty program. Security researchers who find and report related vulnerabilities are eligible for awards ranging from $500 to $26,000. The company says, quote, higher awards are possible at Microsoft's sole discretion based on the severity and impact of the vulnerability and the quality of the submission, end quote.
Okay. I've got a kind of a hot take on this one. Okay. Cynical Jerry. Okay. So check this out. This is great. Microsoft adds, note this, on-premise Exchange in SharePoint. And they said Skype for Business, but really it's 2022. Who is using Skype for Business and not like immediately uninstalling it? But put that aside. Listen, on-premise Exchange and SharePoint, it's great. These are enterprise-grade solutions, especially Exchange, that security vulnerabilities can be heavily damaging to a business if exploited and taken advantage of. So by adding this to a bug bounty program, you're encouraging security researchers to focus their energy and effort at trying to find bugs and stuff in these technologies because they can get paid. Now, here's the hot take. It says on-premise Exchange. Microsoft has an incredibly financial incentive to get as many businesses up into Azure as they can. Office 365 is the business solution they're calling, but it's Azure, right? There's a thing called vendor lock-in. Check out my video with Dr. Ross Anderson on the channel on the Produce Video series. There's 3 interviews I did with him. Vendor lock-in is a thing where like basically it's incredibly painful to decouple yourself from the vendor, right? So you move all your stuff up into Exchange, or excuse me, O365. And then you're like, oh man, their prices went up a lot. This sucks. I'm going to move over to Amazon. Do you know how difficult it is to migrate your business out of O365 and into anything else? It's incredibly painful. It's incredibly costly. And Microsoft and these other service providers, Microsoft's no different. Microsoft is banking on your business being like, oh my God, it's too much. Just pay the bill and let's move on. We got to focus on making widgets. So by finding and publishing Exchange and SharePoint bugs on premise, you're further driving people to want to get off the on-premise thing because you're exposing it, frankly, as like, oh, look at all these problems. You know what you don't need to do if you move to O365 and Azure, hey, we'll take care of the exchange infrastructure. All you got to do is do your email. Don't sweat it. Just an easy, 45 grand a month. Come on over. So Cynical Jerry, Hot Take Central, that's what's going on here. But you know what? Good for the security researchers. They get paid for finding stuff.
49% of small medical practices lack a cybersecurity response plan. According to a survey from Software Advice Sophisticated, cyber attacks are crippling healthcare providers and posing a threat to core functions and patient privacy. Survey findings reveal that 23% of small practices have experienced a data breach, and 46% of these breaches were caused by avoidable human error. Part of the problem could be that 42% of small practices and 25% of large practices spent no more than 2 hours on IT security and data privacy training in 2021. Alarmingly, 20% of small practices didn't know if they had a formal cybersecurity response plan, while 49% indicated that they definitely did not.
All right. So this particular story is interesting that I'm covering it. 49% of small medical practices don't have a cyber attack response plan. Now, some of you may know this, some of you may not. I have a PhD in cyber operations. This is my dissertation. This is an 18-month-long project and like a couple 100-page book I had to write on, original research. And you know what I studied? Why small healthcare practices suck at information security. And guess what? 49% don't have a cyber attack response plan. I would argue that that's too high. I bet you it's closer to like 95% don't have a cyber attack response plan. The 51% that are saying they have it, they probably think it's like whatever their rider on their medical malpractice insurance is that says cybersecurity. This is another one of those ones where you should definitely track down the source of the data set and what they're selling. Software Advice, I'm looking at you, because I'm telling you, small healthcare practices, they outsource their IT. I mean, I did a whole book on it, but they outsource their IT. They think IT is information security, which it's not. The IT provider is providing access to your email works. There you go. Anyways, long story short, small healthcare practices are definitely at risk, and they get, hit all the time. Ransomware and HIPAA violations left and right and all that. All right.
That does it for today's cybersecurity health.
All right. That does it for today's cybersecurity podcast. Real quick before you go, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll go back and watch chat. Real quick, tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., if you're interested in studying for the certification for advanced security professional from CompTIA, Josh Mason is doing, Josh is doing Java with Josh, where it's like basically a study session. So come join that. I think it's going to be about half an hour, maybe an hour, at 8:30 tomorrow morning. And then, of course, tomorrow is Thursday. I will be doing Simply Cyber's First Things First at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. At 3:30 p.m., if you're interested, Jack Scott, in partnership with Grant Thornton, Outpost Gray, is having Christian Espinoza on to talk about EQ and how it impacts cyber. Very interesting topic. It's not all about technology, people. And then, of course, Simply Cyber Live at 4:30 is going to be talking about the modern SOC workflows. I hope you guys have been enjoying today's First Things First. We've got just a minute, so I'm going to be looking at this. Yeah. All right, guys. Lupe, Anna, Josh, thank you all so much. No audio issues today, so let's call that a W. We will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. unless you guys convene for Java with Josh at 8:30. Be good, everybody. Thanks so much, and we'll see you.